Well, you guys, we finished the Trap and Tone Challenge with LASHAE for the month of October. And I think it was great. It was challenging. It was amazing. We are so happy with the results, and we hope that, other people will join in for the next challenge and just try it out and see how you feel. So there is another challenge happening in November, okay? So go to the site, ifyoucanmove.com. The link is down below in my description box, and sign up for the challenge. And don't forget about TLC, Nutriverse, and all of the amazing products that they have at TLC. The link is down below to where you can purchase some of those products. I've even gotten my husband into the Nutriverse. I've gotten my husband into the tea, actually, especially if he isn't feeling that great. Sometimes he might have a little stomach issue. He drinks that tea and he feels great like an hour later. So, just saying. Don't listen to me though. All right, but yeah, y'all, just wanted to give y'all an update before we started this video, but yay, we finished. Hey everybody, what's up? It's your girl Bondy Blue, and I am back for season 5 of This Is Us. I know I'm a little late, but a lot of y'all asked for this, and this is what I call one of my passion projects. It usually doesn't get the most views, but I enjoy the show so much, and I feel like there aren't a lot of people reviewing it or talking about it, so I would like to give people a place to do so. So let's go ahead and get into the first and second episode of season 5 of This Is Us. The world is coming to terms with the Rona, okay? Deja seems to be ahead of most folks and feels like people need to hurry up and take this seriously because it's getting out of hand. Randall comes downstairs and it's his 40th birthday, which means it's the Big Three's 40th birthday. And there's a lot of animosity between he and Kevin right now. The last time we saw them, they were laying into each other pretty heavy. Randall said Kevin was a terrible actor, and then Kevin said the worst day of his life was when they brought Randall home. It was really nasty. And the remnants of that are all over Randall's face. It's written all over your face. You don't have to say a word. Beth reads that Tom Hanks and his wife Rita Wilson now have the Rona. And they actually got residency, I believe, in Switzerland or wherever they were. I'm not sure if that's the country. Either way, wherever country they are in is handling this situation much better than over here. Okay, so they went ahead and had a better life over there, wherever the Hanks decided to set up residency, because they rich and famous and can do that. But now people are gonna have to take this a little bit more seriously when somebody you know and love like Tom Hanks gets the Rona. Kevin goes to tell Toby and Kate that he got Madison pregnant, and they were like, Kevin, what are these words that are coming out of your mouth right now? I ain't gonna lie. I really love Toby's reaction to Kevin telling him that Madison was pregnant, okay? And we didn't know what was going on with Kate at first, because she kind of, went into this place where she's staring down at the ground, and we like, oh, sis, please don't have a heart attack. Please don't have a conniption. Please don't freak out. Please don't spiral into a depression. Please don't go and eat up everything in the refrigerator because you can't deal with your emotions. So many things all at one time. But she comes up from it smiling, and she's like, oh, I'm so happy. And it's amazing. It's amazing. Okay, to tell you the truth. And then he lets them know that it's twins. Y'all know that running in the family, having multiple babies in the womb thing that the Pearsons have going on. LASHAE is in his driveway, just standing there like a stalker, listening to what's happening. And, Kevin turns to him and says, she's pregnant. They're mine. And he's like, congratulations. You guys, I really, really love LASHAE, and I know I'm supposed to call him by whatever his name is on This Is Us, but he will always be LASHAE, especially if he has, somewhat of a bitter demeanor. And he kind of has somewhat of a bitter demeanor. Better on this show than on Psych, but still, he will forever be LASHAE. Or Cain from Cain and Abel on Supernatural. Just saying, the hair was impeccable. Randall gets home. He has to go through the whole, coronavirus checklist before he can actually come into the house. Take your shoes off, take all your clothes off, put some hand sanitizer on your hands. Let me spray you down with some Lysol. I get it. Look, at the end of the day, he is a civil service man, and he comes into contact with a lot of different people, and wearing masks all the time, obviously may not always help if you're touching things. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I get it, Beth. But then she puts the news on him about how Kevin got Madison pregnant with 2 babies. And he's like, oh. Kevin and Madison are chilling on her sofa. And with everything going on with the pandemic, he asked if she would like for him to rent a large home and they can quarantine together. But she says she wants to stay at her place. It's more comfortable for her there. And she actually has a spare room that she has designed with all of the things that she got while she was in college in Japan. I mean, Lord have mercy. It was kind of nice, but a tad bit much. I feel like we could have just did without the wallpaper. If we did without the wallpaper, then everything else would have looked really cute. But it was just kind of like a bit much. I'm just saying, we're going to have to tone this down just a tad bit. It's obvious that Kevin is really taking this relationship seriously. You know what I'm saying? And we already know that Madison has the hots for Kevin. I mean, what white girl in America her age that's straight wouldn't want Kevin? Like, I'm just saying, Kevin is rich. Kevin got, enough issues for you to feel like you can try to fix something inside of him. He's personable. He might be an ass, but he's not too much of an ass. Not enough to like act bad with people out in public. You know what I'm saying? So he has a lot of redeeming qualities. And Madison sees those things. She actually thinks he's a great guy. I mean, coupled with you being famous, rich, hot, sweet, her best friend's brother, like, damn, like what else could she ask for in this situation? But I understand, Kevin, you have all your own issues, all your insecurities that you've grown up with because you couldn't get all of the attention all of the time. Randall goes upstairs to his bathroom after getting the news about Kevin and Madison's pregnancy, and he gives him a text, telling him congratulations, and Kevin sends him a dry ass text back talking about thanks. And that is when Randall gets the news alert about George Floyd, opens it and watches the video. And every time, and I had to watch this twice, every time I watch Sterling K. Brown stand there and watch that video, I want to cry. Every time. And because I just don't think there's a way to fake that. Honestly. I don't think there's a way to fake that. I think that in every moment of our being as Black people, it is hard to escape the feeling. Even for those of us who try to pretend like, oh, in some way, shape, or form, we can separate ourselves, the idea that something so terrible could happen to someone for no reason at all, in blind sight of everyone, has to make most people feel unsafe. If that can happen to that person, it can happen to me. Black people feel like that all the time. And George Floyd was not the first time, and this was not the first time for Randall. It's one time in a number of times, over and over and over again, from how we learn about ourselves in history, from Jim Crow here in America, to what we now understand about what's happened in Africa, the apartheid, how people respond to dark-complected people all over the damn world, police brutality, civil rights, like in just our everyday experiences at our jobs, in corporations, at libraries, at grocery stores, at restaurants, at bars, like the way we are treated by police officers, the way we are treated by old white ladies who try to hold their purse when they walk past us as if we want their money. Bitch, I'm richer than you. I should knock that shit out your hand. Like, I'm just saying. It's so complex. There is no way to act it sometimes. And I feel like because it was so real, I had a visceral reaction every time I watched him watch it. Every time I watched him watch it, I wanted to cry. I want to cry thinking about it. You know what I'm saying? And it's because we all share that feeling. It is a part of what it defines Blackness, unfortunately. It's our universal consciousness and our universal fear and pain of what happens to us so often. It's exhausting. Also, it was my birthday that day. I have, special, profound sadness on that day. Not only was it my birthday, but I had something bad happen to me that day as well. Of course, it wasn't as terrible as what happened to George Floyd, but you coupled that on top of what I was already going through. I'm glad I didn't see it until the next day because I spent most of my birthday crying. So you know what I'm saying, that whole day, everything about that day, watching them replay it and knowing that it was a real day this year, my birthday, my damn life, that was hard for me, and to watch them put it on television and show us that for somebody who you don't even know, it was just as bad for different reasons and for the same reasons. Because that's what happens in the human condition, and also because y'all black. Randall gets into bed with Beth after, and she says, I can't watch it, it's too much. I didn't watch it at first for a long time neither. I didn't feel like I needed to. I saw the screenshot, that was enough. And eventually I watched it, but I didn't sit through the whole 8 minutes. I refused to subject myself to that. I understand. Ever since I saw Rosewood, I've understood, okay? And I saw that at a very young age. Okay, I've been understanding what this is for us for a very long time, and sometimes I feel like I don't need to watch it in order to feel it. You know who needs to watch? The Kevin and Kates and Tobys of the world, the Rebeccas and Miguels of the world. Those are the people that needed to watch that video, that needed to see that video. And we'll get into why I feel like that, but y'all know why I feel like that, because they're the people with a black man and black family members in their lives, and they still have never had to really deal with how this country treats black people. Grew up in a house with this boy, raised him. And then when we think about Rebecca keeping William's identity from Randall for all of those years, taking that time that he could have had with him away from Randall, it only adds to the overall construct of you can love a black person and still harm them in a way that a lot of us feel like only a white person could. So Randall goes to therapy, because we all needed therapy after this. I didn't get any, but I swear to God, I still need some. He talks about how Beth's studio is hemorrhaging cash and how they are furloughing so many people in the city. Not talking about George Floyd, not talking about how he feels as a black man because he's chosen a therapist who reminds him of his mother, which is a white woman who doesn't understand his experience in this world, and thus has mostly tried to ignore what his experience in this world is. Like, it's crazy to me when you think about how great Jack and Rebecca are as people, but how flawed racism is, to where it makes good people ignore their own child's pain and be able to live in a space of not feeling fear for his life. Like, the fact that they never had these conversations to me means that they never really felt in fear for Randall's life in the way that his parents would have if he had been raised by two black ones. That shit is crazy to me when you really think about it. It wasn't like they were trying to make him forfeit, you know, his African-American heritage or who he is or how he shows up in the world. It's not as if they were trying to do that, but in some way, we're still incapable of seeing what some other white people without black kids see, which is, all of this is fucked up. While Randall and Beth and their little black family is trying to deal with what this all feels like right now, Kate is texting him pics of them at marches and asking what black cause to donate to. And it's like, why don't you Google it? And why are you showing me pictures as if that's gonna make me feel better about what is constantly happening in this country and what you have been able to ignore up until now, even with me as a brother? Like, the realization and the heaviness of that is so sad, and is a part of the reason why I feel like it is so detrimental when black and white people have relationships and they don't talk about racism. When black people are too scared to say when they find things offensive, to say when things are bothering them, to say what is going on in black America at the time, while white people are being oblivious, living in the same damn house. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy, but you have to be vocal. And I feel like a lot of black people, you know, they're not vocal, and they almost get into a place of feeling like, you know, they don't want to have to say anything. So they allow their white friends to just go through the world ignorant. of how they come off. And here's the thing, it's not our responsibility, but something is wrong when you can be friends with somebody and sit in a space and ignore the moments when they make you feel uncomfortable because you don't want to upset their whiteness or their white fragility, let me say that. And that's a lot that what happens with Randall and Kate specifically. Him always trying to protect her feelings in spite of his own. So like a lot of people, they watch the news all the time, and you're watching the civil unrest. You watching Trump sending out all of the, the men in the black hazmat combat suits, whatever the hell, they just covered up from head to toe. Don't look like no real police officer we didn't see nowhere, child. Could have just been anybody off the street that had tactical gear that wanted to kidnap somebody and throw them in the back of a van. Like, it was scary out there. And it was causing a lot of anxiety within their household. So they had to change it to damn Family Feud. For me, it was Martin. It was Martin. It was Living Single. Recently, it has been Columbo, Soul Food. There are a lot of shows that cleanse the palate or put black people in a space of being able to forget. Like, we love television shows where we could be black without having to deal with our trauma. Living Single and Martin are perfect for that. You know what I'm saying? Kevin and Madison are watching Family Feud together as well. And he says, we used to watch this together, talking about, the family. And it just shows that he's feeling some type of way about Randall's absence in his life. Madison suggests that since he's about to turn 40 years old, they go ahead and go out to the cabin. They can have everybody get quarantined for, 2 weeks, and they can all meet up and enjoy the birthday together. Okay? At that moment, the babies kick. And she puts his hand on her belly, and they have a moment, and then we see them in the bed together, obviously, after they have made love. This relationship is turning into something more than a baby daddy, baby mama situation. And it's totally a time when if Randall and Kevin were getting along, Kevin would have texted Randall, or Randall would have texted him at the exact time that he felt the need to talk to him. Like, it would have been something like that. But I don't know if y'all know, but throughout the seasons, there have been so many times when they have had these conversations in bathrooms or in the bedroom or quietly at night where, Kevin needs something or Randall needs something. They have been there for one another throughout the years, and now that they beefed out, they don't have that anymore. And I don't think they knew how valuable that was to either of them. Kevin specifically, because to me, he is more selfish in their relationship than Randall is, obviously. But neither one of them are able to sleep that night. And I'm sure it's because they have a lot going on and they would have liked to call one another but couldn't. Remember last season, they had found some tumors inside Randall? Well, now he's tumor free. And I'm like, thank God we couldn't take something else. Beth is trying to, have Mrs. Nasty time because it's been a while, but he asked for a rain check because he is still not in that space. He doesn't want to go to the cabin or celebrate his birthday at all, really. While Beth is walking out the room, he says, for all they know, it may not even really be his birthday. I mean, who knows if it happened the way William said it happened. With him being born, losing a parent, being dropped off at the fire station, and then adopted at the hospital all in the same day. But that is the way it happened, Randall. And you know that. Don't start questioning who you are because shit is getting tough. Don't do that. Then we see young William with Randall as a newborn baby finding his mother Laurel dead. Then we flash back to when she announced to him and to their two friends that she was pregnant. Throughout this conversation, they're talking about, just how black people are living right now, how they pumped heroin into the communities, and how she herself had to, fight that demon. And then she tells William that she's pregnant. She even says no to a little joint, so it's obvious that she took this pregnancy seriously. And this is not somebody that was doing drugs while she was pregnant with Randall. Then we come back to William finding her dead and screaming for help. Jack and Rebecca are having a totally different birthday. Things are planned and normal. And do you know why? It's because as a black woman, Laurel felt that she wasn't going to be treated well because not only is she a black woman, but she is recovering from heroin addiction. So she's been on methadone. So she would have to say that when she went to the hospital. She refused to go to the clinic or to the hospital because, for one, they don't have the money. For two, they didn't want to be treated badly while they were there. Something that Rebecca and Jack don't have to worry about at all. Then we see present time Rebecca and Miguel are in the garden outside the cabin talking about how she can't believe that the kids are turning 40 and how she can't believe that Randall isn't there. You know, it's bothering her. Inside, Kate is telling Toby the same thing, that this is bothering her, and Kevin and Randall have let this shit get too far and they need to talk, and she's gonna call him later on. At the same time, Toby and Kate are waiting to hear news on an adoption. They are trying to adopt another child. And so I believe eventually there's some teenage mother who is willing to give them her unborn child. Then we see Kevin finding Madison after she fell and hit her stomach. She's worried and wants to go to the hospital. Then we flash back to William holding Randall as the paramedics are doing chest compressions and other life-saving measures to try to save Laurel. Then we see he and Laurel, before she had the baby, lying in a bed together. Of course, the color is different now. You know, the scene warms up. And she talks about how hopeful she is about the future for their baby. You know, she's listening to Mahalia Jackson. And she says she doesn't really like to talk about her childhood. You know, obviously something terrible happened to her as a child. But she plans to get a promotion at her job. You know, somebody's going to put in a good word for her so that they can get the apartment 2 floors up. That's a 2-bedroom that will allow their baby to have a window. Just the bare minimum that people want for their children and for themselves, that is so hard for them to acquire because what? They're black. Then we come back to William holding Randall, and the paramedics are trying to save Laurel, and the older one asks, when did she take the narcotic? And William is frozen. And he asks William, are you high right now? And it's like, no. I'm holding a newborn baby and my baby mama is dying on a damn floor. Excuse me if I'm not all there right now. And he explains that no, she was clean. She wasn't doing drugs, but she was in so much pain and we didn't go to the hospital. She was just in so much pain. He was just trying to help her, but she wasn't on drugs and he wasn't on drugs. The older paramedic wants the younger one to call it. And when William asks if she's gone, he feels bad. So he starts trying to save her again. And the man tells him to stop and that they need to call the police and they need to call Child Protection Services and they need to handle this because this is a mess. How judgmental. So William takes Randall and runs. The kids are making Randall a birthday cake in present time. And Tess is complaining about not being able to see her favorite Uncle Kevin and she doesn't get it. And she's just kind of being a brat about it. So Deja is like, or you can just be here for your dad on his birthday. Tess turns around and says, girl, please, you just want to be here because it's you and Malik's anniversary. So cut it out. Randall comes downstairs and tells both of them to stop with the arguing, okay? He is definitely not the same Randall. Randall is a very festive person. It's his 40th birthday and he's walking around like somebody just stole his bike. Randall says that he's happy to spend his birthday with his favorite girls. He's going to pop outside to send some emails because he just needs some air. When the door closes, Beth turns to the girls and says, it's not just me, right? And Deja's like, nah, he jacked up. Yeah, he in his feelings a bit. Back at the cabin, Rebecca says that she's going to go and get her kids a surprise birthday cake. And Kate doesn't feel comfortable with it. She honestly didn't want her to go, but Miguel is on some, you know, we have to allow her to still be independent type of thing. When really everybody just kind of wants to keep her inside so that she doesn't go wandering off. Madison and Kevin go to the hospital and the doctor at first is only hearing 1 heartbeat, so she needs to have a vaginal ultrasound before they jump to any conclusions, and she specifically tells them not to. We come back to William and Laurel, and they're talking about how she didn't get the promotion. She honestly looks a little sick, and I don't understand why they were so gung-ho about not going to a hospital. You know what I'm saying? Because it looked bad to me. You know, she had kind of dark circles around her eyes, and I don't know if that's what you're supposed to look like right before you have a baby, but it just felt wrong to me. They also talk about how their friends who we saw them with earlier in the episode were arrested for handing out flyers. Like, what is that about, child? This racism is killing us. She says that this birth is gonna hurt and she doesn't do well with pain. So there's already, you know what I'm saying, this feeling that she might turn to drugs. William is trying to be as supportive as he possibly can. For every negative thing she says, he's like, well, we'll be there and we'll do whatever we have to do. And I'll hold your hand the whole way. Like, just trying to be as positive as he can and comfort her during this time. Because, I mean, it's apparent that she could just be being hormonal right now and she's not really plunging off the deep end. But either way, it's a lot. And he was handling it very well. Malik shows up. Okay, present day, shows up and Randall is sitting on a stoop trying to send these emails, catching this F. And he notices that something isn't right. So he says, you know, they say to check on your strong friends. And Randall is like, we're not friends, Malik. You're my daughter's, and Malik finishes the sentence, boyfriend. He really doesn't want to say it. Randall says, I see you and your family have been going to a lot of the marches. And he says, yeah, you know, me and my dad watched the video together. And after we took a walk, that's what we've been doing ever since Trayvon Martin. We've been taking a walk. Randall tells him about another young black man who was killed by some police officers, the cousin of a basketball player or football player or something like that. But the main thing is that he didn't deserve to be killed. And he was. And Randall had to sit with that and deal with that in silence. He didn't have the support of a father who would take walks around the block with him. He didn't have anybody in his household who he could talk to about the racism. And a lot of the times didn't talk about it to protect his white family members, leaving him to basically deal with all of these complex emotions by himself from an early age until now. It's no wonder that Randall has gone through much of his life repressing things and trying to keep things together and trying to be perfect. Like, he's the black boy growing up in a white family. He doesn't even have a comfortable space. As much as he can have a comfortable space as a child, as a young black boy, and somewhere to express his frustrations and fears of white people, he had no space for that. And that's something that a lot of black people have, and they really take for granted having the communal vibe of other people who hear and understand you. You know, because seeing Randall grow up without that, it has really messed up his psyche, to be honest. Just as he's having this conversation, Kate calls and he ignores the phone call. He turns to Malik and says, well, I guess you are my best friend, but you're going to have to choose. And I'm going to just tell you right now, I can drive. Deja cannot. So here goes the, you know, the dad joke, and Malik can go ahead and leave him alone for the moment. But yeah, child, I sure do like me some Malik, don't you? Him and Deja are just so mature for their ages. I don't know how I feel about that, but you know, that's how young black kids grow up, fast. It's not their fault. What they gonna do? They gotta be ready for all of the crazy shit that's gonna come at them in the world as soon as they start hitting puberty, you know? So yeah. Then Kate texts Randall saying that Rebecca was missing and they needed his help. So of course he's gonna take this 1.5-hour drive to the cabins to see about his mama. Then we see Rebecca in the hospital about to give birth to the kids, and Jack is, you know, nervous and losing it a bit and doesn't know what to do, doesn't know if he's going to be a good father. At the same time, we see Kevin having this conversation with Madison as they wait in the hospital room for the doctor to come back. Despite all his broken pieces, does she believe in him? And she says, yes, I believe in you. The doctor comes in, does a vaginal ultrasound, and we hear 2 strong heartbeats. Before she came in, though, Kevin grabbed Madison's hand and told her that he felt it. He knew that they were going to have 2 healthy twin children, okay, a boy and a girl. I don't think he knew that at the time, but he was already confident that those kids would be okay. And we know those kids are going to be okay because we saw them in the future. When they get in the car, now that they know their babies are okay, she tells him that he can take back the Jerry Maguire at the U-Haul proposal that he gave her. But he says, no, I'm not going to take it back. I meant what I said. And she's like, well, I don't want you to take it back if you don't want to take it back. He's like, well, do you want me to take it back? Obviously, she doesn't want him to take it back. There was their roundabout way of saying that they're going to be together. They're engaged. I didn't realize it was a proposal, but I guess I must have missed that part. Laurel tells William, back in the day, if she can't be a good mother to this child or be the mother that this child needs, William has to promise that he will make him a family. He will make him a good family. Of course, William agrees to this. Then we see William drop the baby off at the fire station. He rides the bus for a little while, and eventually he gets off of the bus and goes to the nearest hospital from where he dropped the baby off. And he goes to the NICU and looks for his baby. He and Jack are in the same hallway at the same time. Two people that have never met and have no idea how influential they are on one another. That's what I love about This Is Us. How they can draw all of these dots and connections, because that's really how this world works. We have no idea how the smallest decision we make affects people we have even, no idea about. Then we see a flash from present time with Rebecca having an episode at that restaurant when she couldn't find her cell phone. Kevin and Madison get back to the cabin and find Kate all upset about Rebecca. And before Kevin can go rush out the door to look for her, Miguel has gotten a call from the cops. They found her. They're bringing her home. Miguel asked that everybody stay calm and, just don't make her any more scared than she already is. So when Rebecca gets back and walks through the door, it's just like she wasn't there, she's just kind of going like a zombie or something. And Kate was really taken aback, the idea that her mom could really not be in there at some point. It's heartbreaking and nobody's ready for it. At some point throughout this scene, Kevin refers to Madison as his fiance. Kate doesn't say anything immediately, but she clocks it. Once the cops leave and they sit down and they talk, he says they can have a conversation about that later. And then Randall shows up. They tell him that Rebecca is fine. She just got back. They were just about to call him. And that everybody's been quarantined and, he wants to go up there and see her. He's been getting tested, all the time at City Hall. So he's good. Before he can get upstairs, Kevin says that they couldn't have known that this would happen and she's been fine. And Randall is like, I don't blame you, Kevin. It's fine. I'm just glad she's okay. When Rebecca wakes up, Randall is sitting across the room waiting and watching her. And as she, understands where she is, she realizes that he is there because he knows what happened. And she explains that she thought she saw William and she's been thinking a lot about him recently, ever since she and Randall had their conversation. When Randall expressed how he feels like she took something from him when she kept that from him for so long. He could have had a different life with William. He could have saved William if he had been in his life sooner, if William had felt he had something to live for. You know what I'm saying? So it's really heartbreaking when you think about it. And Randall, even though he loves Rebecca, still resents her for making that decision for him. Like, the truth of the matter is, she should have told Randall about William when William came looking for him when he was a kid. Randall doesn't really want to talk about it, so he asks her about the rash she has on her hand, and she says that it's poison ivy. She already took some allergy medication for it. And then she asked him for the second time about Beth and the girls. And he says, oh, next time, Mom. And you can tell that, he's troubled by her not remembering that she already asked him that. Downstairs, Kate tells Kevin that this is enough and they need to fix this situation between he and Randall. Randall is upstairs in the bathroom taking a look at Rebecca's medicine cabinet and sees the allergy medication and wonders if that medication would counteract with her Alzheimer's medication. Meanwhile, downstairs, Miguel is telling Toby he thought Rebecca was getting better ever since they moved out to the cabin. They weren't even supposed to be there for that long, but it turns out she felt better every day being there. And now for this to happen, he just feels so caught off guard. Toby says that when he found out one day that his doctor had put him on automatic refills for his depression medication, it hit him that this is something he's going to have to deal with for the rest of his life. And that scared him. So he asked his doctor, well, when am I going to be able to get off of this? I mean, am I going to be on this for the rest of my life? And his doctor answers, one day at a time. It wasn't what Toby wanted to hear, but in this moment, it's exactly what Miguel needs to hear. That you need to take this one day at a time and give Rebecca the hope that things will be okay in the future and that they have one together. I thought it was beautiful. I love this damn show. I really do. As Randall is coming down the stairs, Miguel is receiving a phone call from Rebecca's doctor. And he's trying to have a conversation with her, but Randall keeps interrupting because he knows something that Miguel doesn't know. That the medicines probably had an interaction and Miguel didn't remember because there was a list. And he just forgot about this antihistamine with this specific medication inside of it being a part of a list of things that will counteract her Alzheimer's medication. So it's not that she's actually deteriorating, it's the medications that cause the issue. Then we see the day of, everybody's birth. William goes to the chapel in the hospital to pray for forgiveness. He feels responsible for Laurel's death. And we see right after the baby's birth, she's in pain and she doesn't want to go to the hospital. And she says, I don't want to get treated like dirt when they find out that I'm on methadone to get off of the heroin. Instead, she asked him to go and get some heroin for her because she's in so much pain. And the thing that makes me upset is that Black people are so disenfranchised that they don't even know that if you're hurting like this after you gave birth, that means that something is wrong and you need to go to the hospital. There's no such thing as I'm going to take pain for it and when I wake up tomorrow, everything's going to be okay. No, you just had a baby. If you're in an intense amount of pain right now, it's because something is wrong on the inside and you need to go to the damn hospital. You know what I'm saying? Something that happens in the Black community with us not liking to go to doctors, which, I mean, I can't blame us after all of the experiments and horrible treatments and, not wanting to give us pain medicine because you don't think that we're actually in pain. Like, child, oh my God. It's just so many things, y'all. So many things in this episode. But William prays to God for forgiveness and he's crying. And Jack comes in and he goes running out. Jack comes in and says that, he hasn't believed in this stuff, God, prayer, in a while. Ever since he noticed that no matter how hard his dad seemed to pray for what he thought was to be better for his kids, he realized that it wasn't going to be better. And that made him not have any faith. So right now he's talking to God, begging him not to take Rebecca away from him because he can't handle it. He's had, way too many bad things happen to him in his life. He's been dealt some rough cards with the alcoholic, abusive father and, the mom who just sits by and allows herself and her children to be abused so that she can stay with some man. Like, it's just really ridiculous. But at the same time, this is like what, the 60s and the 70s? Where was she going to go and what was she going to do? There were a lot of women who felt like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go work? How am I going to take care of myself? You know what I'm saying? They felt too beaten down to do that for themselves. Child is damn patriarchy. But either way, back in present time, Kevin and Miguel and Kate and everybody thank him for showing up and saving the damn day and catching the medication situation. He says he's going to leave so he can make it home to Beth and the girls in time. They're doing something for him for his birthday. Of course, they didn't expect him to leave so quickly. Kate runs out after him and asks him to talk to Kevin. Not that she's picking sides. She's Switzerland in the situation. And also, they haven't talked and she wants to know how he feels. She's sorry about everything that's going on in the country right now, talking about George Floyd and the racial injustice. And he says, why are you apologizing now? This isn't the first time that this has happened. And she says, well, I know, but it just kind of feels different. And he says, it doesn't feel different for me. They haven't talked about this in 40 years that they've been in each other's lives. He says he had to keep so many things to himself to keep them from feeling bad. And she starts to cry and says that he's right, and she guessed mom and dad did the best they could. And he says, you know what? I can't hug you and make you feel better right now. Because where does that leave me? That's what I've done my whole life and I can't do it anymore, Kate. I'm exhausted. Child, when he said that, I was like, hallelujah. If we don't know what you mean when you say that, He says he's gonna go home to his wife and his girls. That's the only place that he wants to be right now. She tells him that she loves him, and he says, I love you too. And they wish each other happy birthday, and he walks off. We go back to the day that everybody was born, and Jack calls his dad from a payphone in the hospital, and it's been a while since they talked. He asks if he's okay, and he says, I don't know. I'm in a situation right now. And he says, Dad, what did you used to pray about when you were in church? And his dad, it's like it's a weird question. So he's like, what do you need, money or something? And Jack is like, no, Dad, I don't need money. I don't know why I called. Never mind. I'll talk to you later. Before he can hang up, his dad is like, I used to pray that my kids would be better than me. And he says, I'm trying, Pop. I'm trying. And I'm like, the fact that you're not racist, like you have issues in this country, it's starting to feel like, people's ignorances don't necessarily mean that they hate other people or want their downfall. But I also feel like, how much do you need to see before you care or before you're aware? Like, how much do you need to see? And when does it stop being our responsibility to make you see? You know what I'm saying? Because apparently there are about 70 million blind ass people in this country right now. But you know what? I digress. Before Jack hangs up, his dad wishes him a happy birthday. Then he sees Randall for the first time. And then he shows Randall to Rebecca and so on and so forth. Kevin comes running to Randall outside before he gets in his car and thanks him one last time and tells him that he's having a boy and a girl. And, he knows how to handle a boy. He was a boy, but a girl, not so much. So he asks if there's any advice. And Randall says, well, you're going to give her everything she wants. But her mom will come in and fix everything. Her mom will be just about perfect at everything. Kevin tells him he thinks he found someone special in Madison. And Randall looks at him for a moment. And you can tell that it's like, I know you want me to be your emotional support bearer right now, Kevin. But I can't do that. I gotta go. So he gets in his car and he leaves. Of course, they wish each other birthday beforehand. But it just shows that Randall is no longer emotionally available for y'all. And y'all need to figure y'all shit out on your own. And you also need to start caring a little bit more about him and how he feels and less about you and what's going on in your life when you call him. Just saying. So then we see William on the bus just riding, thinking about him and Laurel, and when they met on that same bus, it was sad. You can tell that this is how things went downhill. Him feeling responsible for her death. On the way home, Randall calls his therapist and tells her that he's going to find a new therapist, a black one. Okay. I don't know why he didn't do that from the very beginning, but I guess he felt he could work out his issues with Rebecca through his therapist. Miguel gives Rebecca some seeds standing outside their house. And he says that the seeds will grow in a few years. And, she's like, a few years? He was like, yeah, we got time. We have a future and I'll be here and we'll grow some more when these grow and we'll grow some more when those grow. And it's him doing exactly what Toby told him to do. And that's showing Rebecca that he can see her future even if she can't. Beautiful moment. Kate is feeling some type of way after her conversation with Randall. And Toby says that they'll get it right with their kids. And I'm like, I hope y'all do, because that's what we need. People to get it right with their kids so y'all can stop breeding these crazy racist people. Okay, please stop. Then he says they got a hit with the adoption situation. So we'll find out more about that next week. Randall sits with Beth and the kids at home and he tells her that he's really sad. He's not depressed, but he's just really sad right now. And she says her dad used to say that tragedy is a fence post of life. And that, basically who you are is the culmination of the tragedies and how they've shaped you. I don't know if I can necessarily disagree with that, because I feel like the tragedies in my life have definitely contributed to the person that you see before you. She tells him that he was born out of multiple tragedies. When you think about his mom dying, when you think about Rebecca losing one of the triplets, you know what I'm saying? A lot of tragedies that were happening all at one time. And with all of that, look at what he did with his life. He's a civil servant. He helps other people. He has a beautiful family. He is taking someone else's child who needed it into his life. He has been a positive effect on the world because of all he has been through. He is a brilliant and beautiful and resilient man, and this world is beautiful in brilliance and resilience, and we fight on. And when she said that, it gave me so much hope, and it was the right thing to say, because the fight is never over. That's why you have to enjoy the victories when you get them. Then we go back to right after William ran out of the apartment with Randall, and the paramedic says he's getting a pulse. And then we see Laurel take a breath and open her eyes. I said, you mean to tell me this lady been alive this whole damn time? William has been on drugs for years because he thought he killed her. Randall has gone through his life with a missing piece of the damn puzzle that might have been walking around alive the whole time. This is us. I'm not prepared for whatever is about to take place in this season, but I'm excited for it. All right, y'all. That's it. I hope y'all enjoyed. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you have not already. I'll see y'all in the next one.